Welcome back to Third Man In. I'm Zack Phillips, and in tonight's post-game stream, we're going to be breaking down game number 45 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, defeating the Seattle Kraken here tonight 3-1, moving to 23, 14, and 8 so far on the season. Caps off what was a little bit of a nightmare road trip here for this Leafs team. Obviously, losing games there to the Oilers, finding a way to grit one out against the Flames, but then going into Vancouver on Saturday night, last night against the Canucks, and losing that one in what felt like, I think to most people, like kind of an embarrassing loss. Yeah, you started really shitty, you go down 3-0, you find a way to climb back in that one, make it a real game, but then the way that you closed out, it still doesn't feel that great. So like Six is saying there in the chat, yeah, it's a 2-2 road trip, but I mean, I'm not going to try to be Mr. Negativity here tonight. That being said, with games like this and with the way that this team has played over the last little while, you can't reasonably look at this team and feel like a result here tonight is actually something that's changed things with this team. It's not something that's actually going to give you hope or positivity moving forward to think that things are going to be different, or this is a team that can actually go on to win the Stanley Cup or have success in the playoffs over extended periods of time. Like, just given their track record, given how they've been over the last little while and who they've been even basically since the start of the season, I don't think that they've done enough to show that. I just don't think that they've done enough to kind of put you in that position to think, yeah, this is a team that's different. A couple things that I did like here tonight, a couple things that I think have happened with this team, at least here, that hopefully you can see them continue to bring out of this road trip or out of this game, is you saw a much better performance here tonight from Tavares. You saw a much more motivated Tavares. You saw a guy who looked like he had some legs going, which was kind of surprising coming off a back-to-back in a game where he truly just did not have any legs underneath him. He looked slow and out of the play and a step behind. He looked like he had that here tonight. He had an extra gear. He had an extra step. He had an extra little bit of jump in his game, and I was happy to see that out of him. Also, you got to be happy with the way Samsonov has performed. Now, part of this is just because of what we saw out of Martin Jones over the last little while. I think he gets overworked a little bit there. I'm not going to kind of blame him for the losses that have happened over the last little while. I think the way the team played in front of him defensively did not help him, did not lead to kind of putting him in the best position to succeed. But then on the other side, you can look at a couple goals and say, like, hey, he should have had those ones. He should have been there and maybe helped them out. I think he's kind of just gets to a point where he's tired. He's mid-30s. He started the season in the AHL. He's not to the caliber that he was in the last few years before he got to Seattle and kind of had puttered out a little bit, and then leads to him not getting a contract, having to be a guy that the Leafs go and sign and send to their AHL team. Martin Jones, I think, just got overworked a little bit. It probably wears on you. I don't want to hear about, oh, back in the day they played 65, 70 games of an 82-game season. It's just not that anymore. And even from the time Martin Jones kind of entered the league to where he's at now, it's never really been that unless you were an elite upper echelon goaltender, which he wasn't really. He was a good goaltender, not one of those elite guys. So I think that takes a toll on you. You need backup goaltending here. You need guys who can filter into some of these games, help you out, give you wins, give you average goaltending so that you can compete on a night like this. You can compete against the Calgary Flames, because if you get Samsonov from what you got at the start of the season versus what you're getting out of Samsonov right now, this game here tonight, the game on Thursday against Calgary, those are like effectively guaranteed losses with Samsonov in net. So much more positive sign with Samsonov. You get a couple good starts out of him. You can probably start to wean off of Martin Jones here a little bit, where he doesn't have to take this big of a workload. You can start to filter in Samsonov back in, give him some confidence here. He's probably feeling pretty good about these last couple of wins that he gets. You can kind of limp a little bit into this All-Star break here now. Get yourself to February 2nd. You've only got, a week and a little bit left here before you get to that break. The team can kind of take a mental reset. And then also at that point in time, you're going to get another evaluation of Joseph Woll. Is he ready to come back? Is he healthy? Is he in the right mindset? Does he deserve a spot over Samsonov and Martin Jones? Maybe the two of them are playing really well together, and Joseph Woll kind of ends up being the odd man out. Now, what you have to keep in mind there is you can't send him down. So you're going to have a decision to make with the goaltending, but can you trust these guys? Like, where are you going to be at with that? As long as Samsonov can put you in a spot where Martin Jones doesn't have to play 100% of the games, then you can have a lot more faith in what goes on goaltending-wise with this Leafs team. Because when we were watching Samsonov go in that net before, you're basically looking at, if you're someone who's betting on these games, looking at the odds, you're pretty much saying, like, tonight's an overnight, Samsonov might let in 6 or 7 on his own. He might be the guy who just blows over this game total just because of his sheer lack of ability in net. Hopefully, you can get to a spot with Samsonov where he can kind of filter this in now, get some confidence back, and start to rock. Again, when it comes to this team, though, I'm happy with this win here tonight. I saw Max Entia saying it in the chat there earlier, like, yeah, you got to be happy with these ones because it's been rare this season to kind of have these nice defensive wins, full 60-minute wins where it feels like you showed up from the jump and you actually closed things out. You limited opportunities. You dominated in the faceoff circle. Your power play actually looked decent, regardless of what you want to think about some levels of production. Your penalty kills look decent. Like, this team in every aspect of the game here tonight, they look pretty good, from goaltending to the defense, the way the defense played, the way the team played defensively as a unit, the way the forwards were committed back into the D zone. Also, Piro, buddy, what are you talking about? No one said send Wall down. You can't send Wall down. I said you can't send him down. You have to keep that in mind. What are you going to do with the other guys? So, I mean, have another one, guy, but we're not talking. I don't know what you're saying. You can't send him down. You have to figure out what you're going to do with Jones and Samsonov. Wall can't go anywhere. You have to figure out, are you going to trade guys? Are you going to try to move Samsonov or Jones back down? Wall's not going anywhere. But you have to figure out which one of these guys is your guy. Can you get assets for another piece? Are you willing to risk putting a guy through on waivers, Samsonov or Jones? Because you're not going to do it with Joseph Wall. You have to figure out which one of these guys you can be confident in. But as far as this team goes, the way that they played here tonight, honestly, I think that this is one that you can take some comfort in to say, like, hey, they've got this. But again, I think the problem for myself and a lot of people, obviously not 6 1/3 with some of the delusion that goes on there, is just they can't string this together. They can't do it 2, 3, 4 games in a row. They can't figure out ways to start to go on a roll of these defensive play and actually be able to outscore the other team while maintaining that level of play defensively. Like, this team just lacks that jump or commitment to a full team game that it takes to kind of go above and beyond and win games when it matters the most. They just can't do it. That's why when I look at this team against Florida, Tampa, if you had to go across and play some of these West teams, even Edmonton at this point, again, Dallas, Colorado, Vegas, I don't think you beat them in a 7-game series, because I don't think that you can go toe-to-toe 7 consecutive games of this level of defensive consistency. Obviously, throughout playoffs and a long run, you're going to have an off night. But that being said, like, this team is so unreliable when it comes to those. I mean, it's something that you can't feel confident in. I just don't understand how you can feel confident in it and be realistic about it on top of that, because I know that some people are going to say, well, I'm confident in it. You're maybe not, but I don't think that that's realistic. I think there's a little bit of, like, fooling yourself when it comes to thinking that way. But, I mean, I said it last night. I said it in the stream, and, like, obviously I love this team. I love the Leafs. I want them to win. I want to see this team have success. But I had concerns about the way that this road trip might close out with what happened versus Calgary and people kind of swinging too far the other way and be like, we're back, we're fine. And then you go into Vancouver, you kind of get your teeth kicked in a little bit, other than for maybe about 20 minutes of that game, 30 minutes of that game. And then you go into the third period, and then they take it back and say, yeah, all right, you had a great second period. You made this one close, tied things up, but F you, get out of our building. And then they take it back over and they close it out. This game here against Seattle, I feel like this kind of swings people back the other direction, and it's like this is the very next night. Why would a team that lacks this much consistency at the same time give you that positive optimism moving forward? Why would a team that has these ups and downs, these swings back and forth like this, make you think or feel as though they can actually put this together and change their ways from 7 years ahead of this to where you're at right now? I just don't see where that change comes. I don't understand either why you could go from Thursday against Calgary to Saturday against Vancouver and have those flips, and then this game here tonight, and now all of a sudden be fully back on like, oh, this team can win. It's not about whether you like this team or you want them to win or whatever. It's about looking ahead to the bigger picture, because at some point, when you watch a team that loses in the first round every single season, other than one, and then they win one game in the second round, you start to care less and less about the regular season. And for some people, it's the smaller things in the season. It's the smaller things in life. You just want to watch games. You want to watch wins. You want to watch this team put up points. In the grand scheme of things, that's not good enough. You're looking for playoff success. You're looking for playoff compete and the ability to win series, string together a couple series here, maybe go to conference finals, go to the Stanley Cup, and actually try to win a Stanley Cup, because otherwise you're just going to continue to be a laughingstock. And I think that watching this team moving forward, it's just, you can still call them what they are, and they're the same thing that they've been for 7 years, going on 8 now. They're not a team that's going to have success in the playoffs. These swings where you win a game like this feels like it gives people false hope. I was hoping that the takeaway from this trip would be able to come back leading into All-Star weekend with a week and a bit left before you get that break, to kind of take that final reset ahead of the final 30-ish games and say, okay, we need to make some changes. Whether those are roster changes, whether those are trades, signing free agents, bringing guys up from the Marlies, or getting rid of your coach. It felt like you needed to push yourself closer and closer to, now is time to make a change. And this feels like this pushes that down the road. And then ultimately, you just kind of end up getting to a point where you get to the playoffs and, lose. And then we sit here and yell and scream and say, what the hell happened? When realistically, we could look back to the end of January 21st on a Sunday night, where you go into Seattle at 9 p.m. and you beat them 2-1 in a good defensive performance. And everyone said, well, this team, they can play defensively. They can string it together. They can do it. Don't fire Keefe. Don't trade anybody. You're fine. And that's not the case. This is not how this should be handled, not how this should be looked at moving forward. I see a lot of people in here right now. I do appreciate all the viewers that are currently watching. Anybody who's new, anybody who's joined the channel for the first time, or if you're somebody who's coming back, you've been here before, but you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button on the channel. About 60% of the viewers on this channel are not subscribed. There's just no reason for that. That's not good enough. You guys are watching the content, you enjoy the content, you consume the content, and then you come back on a regular basis. Hit the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds to do. You get notified every single time that we go live on the channel, every single time videos come out, whether they're shorts or breakdowns, reactions, injuries, news, rumors, all that kind of stuff. It's happening right here on the channel. You're not going to want to miss any of it. Bounce back and forth, do some watch-alongs, do the post-game streams. You're going to want to see it. Hit the subscribe button here on the channel. As well, if you're watching right now, hit the like button. Less than half the people watching the stream right now have liked the stream. Again, no reason for that. You guys know how it works. 50, 100, 150. Do the smelling salts. So, like the stream. We appreciate all the support, but like the stream. Thank you guys very much. I'll continue to read the chat. Want to know what you guys think here, so we'll go through some of those. One of the things that I did see here, a question about Knies and Robertson. Let's first and foremost start with Matthew Knies. Before I can even get into him, he obviously moves back up to the first line here, plays with Matthews, plays with Marner. I think that's where he should be. I think that that's where he deserves to be. I also think it's the best fit for him and that line. I think that that's all around what it should be. I think that's the lineup you're looking for, at least from your first line. If Bertuzzi's not going to be the guy to go in there, and clearly at this point, he's not. So find other options. Matthew Knies, he's the best option to go into that spot. Now, the thought for me with this is I don't understand Sheldon Keefe's use and back and forth when it comes to sending messages and guys not deserving to be in certain spots. We will get to Knies and his game here tonight, but the fact that you go with Knies isn't good enough, Knies hasn't figured it out, he's not used to the NHL game versus the college game, he can't handle 42 college games to the 82 NHL game jump, like he can't do the difference, blah, blah, blah. How all of a sudden, after you go from the fourth line to 7-8 minutes a night, do you just now get a jump up and you're slotted into the first line playing with those guys, playing these important minutes? I think he deserves to be there. Don't get me wrong. I just don't understand Keefe's mindset in all of this. The other thing, which we'll get to as well with the Robertson stuff, is like Keefe's handling of that situation. Can't trust him. Can't get to him. Why is he in? Why is he out? This guy's in the lineup, scores goals. You're looking at a third line that produces, is able to score, and then jumps around, and you're putting him down to the fourth line. You're taking away minutes. You're sitting him in the press box. Now he comes back. He scores again. What is going to happen when you return home from this road trip? Are you putting him in the press box? Can you trust him? Are you going to play him again? I don't understand from that standpoint. Also, I don't give a fuck about, oh, you're talking about this guy, stick to this guy. It's all encompassing. These things all tie in together. So truly, Six, if you want to call in and you want to give your opinions and not just yap your mouth away in the chat, call in, send a message. I don't want to hear about this I can't figure out technology stuff anymore. Given enough reasons and enough ways to get to calling into the stream and telling us what you think and how you feel about stuff. So stop complaining. If you want to hear about something, call in. We'll talk about it. But you won't do it. You won't call in. So that's enough. These things all tie in. They can go back and forth. You can get to a spot with that. As for Knies, he deserves that spot. He deserves to play on the first line. And he played a really good game here tonight. This is a guy who is so fun to watch on the forecheck. He's so enjoyable to watch when he's putting in pressure, he's fighting in the corners, he's winning puck battles, he's causing turnovers, he's causing chaos, as well as getting to the front of the net outside of just the corners. This guy is well aware about his role on that line. He's not the primary goal scorer. He's a skilled guy. He's a skilled player who can make things happen, and he is much, much more, especially with those guys, a guy who's going to be a complementary piece who can do the grunt work for them. He's a guy who can do the grunt work for them. So he fits in very, very well. He deserves to be on that line. And I think he showed tonight here, despite what might happen on the score sheet, despite his entire body of work of points throughout this year. Again, it's also the same thing when it comes to Tyler Bertuzzi. People look at him and think, oh, he doesn't have points. He's not playing well. He doesn't deserve this. Trade him. This is a guy we're going to be clamoring for when it comes to playoff time. You're going to be dying for a Tyler Bertuzzi. If you trade this guy away and we go into the playoffs without him, we are going to, as Leafs fans, watch him go to another team and piss people off, fight guys, draw penalties, be in scrums after the whistle, go to the front of the net, continue to get power plays. Like, you are going to be so pissed off with the fact that we lost this player from our team. We lost him from our organization. I don't care what the points are. I understand the struggle. Let's also consider the fact that he's been playing with John Tavares, who also has not been good over the last, I don't know. In terms of his overall play, I'd say probably like 10 to 15 games. In terms of his point production at 5-on-5, which is when he's playing with Bertuzzi, this guy had one goal at 5-on-5 since Sweden. That was like 28 games ago. That's just not good enough for a guy who's making $11 million, and that's going to take away from Bertuzzi. So basically my point is, when it comes to Knies, when it comes to Bertuzzi, when it comes to how they play, and the impact that they make on this lineup, these are a couple of guys that I can look at and genuinely think, like, I don't care what their point production is. Yeah, would it be nice to have them be Zach Hyman and score 55 goals? Sure. But you have Austin Matthews who can score 71. He's got 38 goals through 45 team games, 44 of his own played games. You've got Austin Matthews playing with Mitch Marner, who is capable of scoring just under 100 points. He can put up 20, 30 goals. He can put up crazy points himself. You don't need those goals coming from Tyler Bertuzzi. You don't need those goals coming from Matthew Knies. They'll be there. They'll come every now and then. You'd like them a little bit more frequently, but it's just not going to be a common occurrence with these guys. So appreciate them for what they are. Appreciate them for what they can bring, because it feels like here in Toronto, we look at guys who can score huge numbers of goals and then be like, well, why don't you do this other thing? Or I'm not even talking about huge numbers of goals. I'm more going to look at like these mid-tier or complementary pieces. You look at a Tyler Bertuzzi and say, well, you piss people off, you stick up for your teammates, you're good on the forecheck, you block shots. Why don't you score 45 goals? Well, he's not a 45 goal scorer, so let's not ask that of him. He does all these other things really, really well. Let's appreciate those things. Like Nick Robertson, let's get into him and his talk. Actually, before we do, I do have a super chat here. But like Nick Robertson, it kind of is the same thing. It's like, well, you could score 15, 20 goals. Why don't you hit guys and fight? Like maybe we just have to find the right combination to build the team that can have that success. Again, if you're watching right now, please continue to hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel. We do appreciate it. All the support here. So like, subscribe, turn on notifications. You don't want to miss anything. But we do, in fact, have a super chat here from our guy, Michael, all the way out in Hong Kong. Michael, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Michael says, nothing changes. Coach has no proper system. Starts late, blows leads. Power play sucks. PK sucks. D always pinches. Gio is 41. Brody is washed. Need new eyes. There's a lot going on there. I would say, first of all, nothing changes. Yeah, nothing changes in terms of who we thought they were. We always know that they have this in them. It's about whether or not they're going to show up and do it. It's not like this was a surprise here tonight that they're able to play this way, or they have this intensity, they have this lockdown defense type of game. Like, we know that they do. It's just whether or not you're going to get it consistently. Are you going to get this on a nightly basis? Are you going to get team buy-in and commitment to playing a strong, proper defensive system and defensive game to kind of grit these games out? I don't think you are. So from that standpoint, it changes. In terms of where it goes from Saturday into the game here tonight, yeah, this changed. It was two completely different styles of hockey that this team played. Coach has no proper system. I don't know. I can't speak to that. He might have a system. Maybe they don't listen to him. Maybe they don't buy in. But that being said, I don't know what proper system. We don't know. Are they just not playing it? Are they not executing it very well? Is he not the voice to kind of deliver the system? Maybe the next guy comes in and they run the same system, but he talks to them differently. He treats them differently. Also, another super chat here. Super chat from Sydney Kavanaugh. Sid, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate the support. Michael also saying, in terms of the in terms of special teams, power play sucks, PK sucks. Look, the reality is that this power play is still going to continue to be one of the best in the league. That's always just going to be from the fact that you have sheer skill and that much skill in the lineup, so they're going to be able to outperform a team that has less players on the ice in them. They're just going to be able to do that. Penalty kill seems interesting what's going on here. I think part of this is a product of what had happened with the goaltending early, where you were just getting terrible goaltending from Samsonov every time he went in there. So it was like, there's nothing you can do penalty kill wise to stop that. But the other thing here is that who's playing most of these minutes on the penalty kill? One of them would be Brody. Obviously here tonight, Giordano sits in the press box, but Giordano's another guy who's doing that. It feels like these guys just kind of have fallen off a cliff. Brody is not what he was when he first got with this team. We've seen a downhill trajectory from him from basically a year and a bit after he got here. He played one really good season, then it kind of just slowly tapered off to the point where last year in the playoffs, we were looking at this guy feeling like he was almost unplayable. Then you go into this season here, it's gotten worse from day one to where we're at right now. It just hasn't been good enough from TJ Brody. So you can't rely on a guy who's making $5.5 million to go out there consistently. He's playing really poor defensively, which is what his game is. It's what he's identified as. He's a defensive defenseman, good puck mover, able to get the puck up ice. Legs have kind of gone missing. He seems always a step behind. Defensively, it's just not being there. He hasn't been good enough. So that's going to kill you on the penalty kill. It's going to really, really drastically affect your numbers, your stats, where you're going to kind of rank in the league and your ability to stop teams from scoring, because the other part of this is if the other team's going out there on the power play and you've got one weak link who's been playing that poorly defensively, who's going to get exposed 45 seconds in, the other team's going to have prime opportunities to score and finish that penalty kill, which is just going to kill you, because now it's not even like you can get a second unit out there and get that guy off the ice. He needs to be a lot better. He's been hurting that. Giordano probably logging a little bit too many minutes here as well. That's kind of where you get to with the special teams, and I think that touches on Michael's thoughts there on Brody and Gio as well. But another super chat. Michael says, Keefe, Michael, thanks for the super chat as well. I do appreciate that. Michael says, Keefe's responsibility to brief Tree. The problem in the offseason of Gio is old. Brody play is declining. Liljegren is good defensively. I mean, look, if he's got to debrief Tree Living that Brody is declining and Gio is old, then True Living shouldn't be in the GM here anyways. Like, every single person in the city of Toronto right now and worldwide watching hockey can come to the same conclusion. So if Tree Living can't on his own and he needs Sheldon Keefe to do it for him, that's tough. That's not going to go over well for this team in the long run. It's just not. Another super chat here. Kiss, Mary, Punch. Thanks, Ryan Covart, for the super chat. Ryan says, Kiss, Mary, Punch, Marner, Matthews, Peter Dinklage. Kiss, Mary, Punch. Kiss, Peter Dinklage. I mean, nothing else is happening there for sure. Like, it's just Kiss and that's it. Marry A-Mats for the money. Might be able to give you good fits. Punch, obviously, Marner. I mean, it's no surprise where I'm at in terms of a fan of the contract situation. Yeah, Punch. That's easy one. There you go. Kiss, Marry, Punch. That's not that hard. Also, you guys, seems everyone's pretty much on the same page here in the chat, so we appreciate that. If you like the list, if you like the channel, hit the like button, subscribe here. I appreciate all the support, but this is what you get hockey insight, you get analysis, you get breakdowns, you get phone calls, and then you get feet and Peter Dinklage getting kissed. What a stream. All right, a couple other things that I want to get to here in terms of tonight's game. The last couple of games that we've seen out of these guys, Matthews has been out of his mind. It feels like he's kind of just at a point where he's doing everything he can, at least from a production standpoint, to be like, yeah, we're not going down. without a fight here. Like, I'm still going to be that guy. I'm going to put up my points. I'm going to put up my goals. Every time we're watching him go out on the ice, it feels extremely dangerous, like something could happen. This is the exact same spot that we were in with him in the season where he scored 60. It was like every time he touched the ice, he was dangerous. He was something you had to be careful of. You had to watch out for, because it always felt like he was going to be a problem for the other team. He's back to that point. It's insane as well to look at it and think he scored 40 goals last year. And that was a down year. That was a year we came away from being like, this guy wasn't that good. This guy was not good enough from his standard. The ceiling or the bar that he set of his expectations of what we thought he should be. He was not good enough. And he still scored 40 goals. Through 45 games this year, 45 team games, 44 for himself, he's got 38 goals. He's on pace for over 70 goals in the National Hockey League. This is the greatest professional hockey league in the entire world. And he scores every way you can imagine. Think about that game against Calgary. Disgusting goal, grabs a little bouncing puck that gets poor play by Gregor just in terms of execution. He's trying to chip it in. He fans on it. Matthews steals the puck, puts it through his legs, rips under the bar against the Flames. Then he's scoring goals where he's down in the corner, ripping one-timers on an absolutely Danny Healy all-star, rock-star zone angle, top corner. And then the final goal that he scores is like a grind, go to the front of the net, bat in a rebound. Yeah, like Taylor's saying there, what's wrong with Austin Matthews? He only had 40 goals. Yeah, exactly. Like, you're looking at a guy who scored 40. One of the craziest things that I continued to look at was when Phil Kessel was here on this team, we always talked about how much of a goal scorer he was, a sniper, the production that he brought, and his highest scoring season with the Leafs was 37. Through 45 games, Matthews has 38 goals. Like, this guy's going to score more than 70 goals this year. And we were looking at 37 in awe about how easy it was for Phil Kessel to score goals. That's insane. Matthews, to me, has been on a heater all season. He's dealt with line changes. He's dealt with changing of wingers. He's dealt with Marner not having played that well through the start of the year, where now it's starting to feels like it's picking up a little bit. He's creating a little bit more. I still don't think we've seen Mitch Marner at what he could or should be. That being said, you're starting to see him get back a little bit of what Marner is. Matthews is just going to be better because of it. He's just going to be able to benefit way, way more. It's nice to see from that standpoint. The other thing here, Nylander. Nylander kind of goes ghost from the points perspective. I think he played well in Calgary. I don't think other people had the same takeaway because points weren't there. His line didn't play that well, whatever. He's been a dominant player over the last little while. Basically all season. I think he's a guy we can rely on, and he's a guy you need to rely on at $11.25 million or $11.5 million. You need to be able to rely on that player who's hitting you for that cap to be able to make some massive impact and take over a game. Think about what he does last night against Vancouver. Say what you want about the shots, deflected, not deflected. 2 goals from William Nylander, where he also felt dangerous throughout the course of the entire night. That's a really good game for him. I think he plays pretty well here tonight. I'm good with that. I'm good with those guys. I'm happy with what we saw out of them. The other thing I want to say about Matthews here as well before I move off this topic and we get to our final couple of things before we wrap up the stream here tonight. We're already at 35 minutes. The highlight pack that they showed of Austin Matthews ripping around in the offensive zone, I think it was like a 45-second pack or clip. That is why he's so lethal in the offensive zone. Not only does he maneuver around the entire zone off puck, but he is constantly aware of where the puck is, the defender is, and where those things are relative to where the net and the goaltender are. He is able to figure out his next course of action like 3 steps ahead of when it gets to that point. He knows if he's going to a certain spot and a guy's moving a certain way on the ice, if that puck comes across to him, the move that the goaltender has to make, where he's going to have to put it to be able to beat the guy, where he's not going to be able to get across and get back quick enough to it to make a save on it. Like, this guy, his offensive zone awareness is insane. And then on top of that, another thing that's just been absolutely nuts to watch him do, he gets lost in the offensive zone or the defensive zone for the other team. Do you know how ridiculous it is to think about the fact that a guy who's projected to score 70 goals this year can get lost in the offensive zone? He scored 40 in a down year. He scored 60 the year before that. He scored 40 a couple seasons in before that. He's won the Rocket a couple of times. Like, to get lost in the offensive zone amongst a D, that's not even a statement of the defense and who they are, what they're doing, or anything like that. Obviously, it plays a factor where they can get their own confusion, but a lot of times he creates that. He creates panic and discomfort for the defending team to the point where he can find these slots to get into soft spots on the ice, whether it's on the slot or down low in the corners, to get open, to be able to rip home these opportunities. Like, think about the pass from Marner. Why is Austin Matthews all alone in the slot? That should never be the case. In the game against Calgary, why is Austin Matthews wide open in the corner, backdoor like that, when you know that guy can score from there at any given moment? These things should never happen, but he's so elusive, he's so smart, and he's so ahead of everything that this is what allows him to get to that point. We got a couple more things to get to. We'll wrap this stream up here. These West Coast trips are really baggers because of the late night games. We're starting these streams at like 11:40, 11:45. So we'll keep it a little bit tighter, but wanted to get on here and do the post game, get some thoughts from you guys. I do appreciate you all showing up here. Over 100 people watching right now at 12:30 in the morning on a Monday in January. Pretty cool. So thank you guys very much for that. We have two things we get to before we can close out the stream in these post games. I want to know what yours are as well. But if you've seen the streams before, you know what's coming. If you haven't, sit tight. You'll enjoy it. Let's get to our play of the game. Play of the game for me, I would want to give it to the Matthews goal. It's going to be the honorary mention, but I'll start with that because we talked about it a little bit. That's a disgusting play by him. It's a great work by Marner to get that puck down in the defensive zone, get below the goal line, win a battle, find a way to get a pass out front to the most lethal goal scorer, not just on your team, but in the NHL currently in Austin Matthews. You get that puck on a stick, and then just nasty move by him, pulling that thing to his backhand, getting it past the goaltender there to open the scoring up. It's insane what he's able to do and the consistency that he's doing at and how he can score any way he wants. That's going to be an honorary mention for me, though, because the actual play of the game is the Nick Robertson goal for a couple of reasons. First of all, the three guys involved in that goal are three guys who have been catching heat from the coach, catching heat from the media and the fan base here, and that would be Tyler Bertuzzi, Max Domi, and Nick Robertson. Nick Robertson, obviously, in the press box, out of the press box, third line, fourth line, back to the third line. Like, this guy can't find a role. He can't get comfortable in this lineup. It's not been that great of a start to the season for him, unfortunately. I think part of that is Keefe's fault. But nonetheless, he hasn't been able to get in here and hold a spot, and he's able to bury here tonight. He's found ways to get some goals in some of these opportunities that he's had, and it comes off of the back of a great zone entry by Bertuzzi, great awareness to find Domi, who spreads out the zone as well and draws the defender in with him, taking in that middle lane. Bertuzzi gets the pass in through him. Domi doesn't just fire the shot off on the net. He doesn't just fire a pass back immediately at Robertson either. As he goes in and enters the zone, he's still a threat to score, he's still a threat to shoot, but he draws the defender over, which opens up Nick Robertson, who then has the presence of mind to filter himself into the slot to be open there for that pass, and Domi fires across a perfect pass to Robertson, who buries that. That's just a great feel-good play from all those guys, but it's also a highlight reel play, and it's just a good hockey play. Like, that's just a fun hockey play to watch. And then you look at the three guys who get on the score sheet, you got to feel good for them. So that's my play of the game. But yeah, I want to see what you guys have. It looks like you guys have kind of the same ones there in the chat. So on the same page as well. Let's get to the final segment here before we wrap things up. and close down this stream here tonight. And that would be the grades of the game. So now send yours in the chat here as well. What do you grade tonight's game?
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
All right, grades of the game, real simple. We take a grade school scale, A+, all the way down to fail. Some people have even thrown out worse grades than that when we've seen some of these other performances. But let me know in the chat what your grade of the game is here tonight. I'm going to be honest. I'm starting this one off A-. I think this is an A- game. It's not perfect. It felt a little bit slow. I feel like you probably could have had a little bit better production. I still want a little bit more to this team, but it's the end of a road trip. It's off a back-to-back. It's still on West Coast time. You're playing at 9 p.m. here. You got Samsonov in. You played pretty well in front of him. I think Samsonov has a pretty good night here tonight. I still don't think the special teams are that great. I'm worried about the PK in the long term. I'm okay with where the power play was at. Like, I'm not like jumping out of my chair for them. I'm going to go an A-. Like, you at least made things up a little bit. You made things up a little bit and started to advance your level of play from the garbage that we had to see last night and the results that you've been getting over the last couple of weeks. I'm still not all the way back in on this team. I'm not all the way there to say, oh, yeah, these guys can do it. I don't think that they can, truly. But this is a good performance here tonight, a good win, and a good way to close off this road trip. So A- for me. Before we finish this one, we do have a super chat here as well. Michael, thank you for the super chat. Michael says, Zach, I still can't forgive Dubas of unserious moves, trades, and draft, which has wasted 6 years of Leafs being a true contender with 34 on the team. Michael, thanks for the super chat. I get it. I understand. But guess what, buddy? He's not here anymore. It's time to move on. You don't just sit around reminiscing about this time that you had that you hated this person and hated the moves that they made and the decisions. You forget it, black it out of your mind, move on. You don't have to worry about that. We're in a new era of management here, at least. We've got a new GM. Let's just take steps forward. Forget about him and the moves that he made. We don't need to hear about that anymore. I don't care about Kyle Dubas. That being said, I think people need to stop bringing some of the blame onto Tree Living for moves that he made. Don't blame the defense when the only guy that was changed here was Tree Living bringing in Simone Benoit. He's the only new guy. But everyone's going to sit here and talk about, oh, Tree Living, he fucked us on defense. We didn't bring these guys in. It's not on him. Forget about it. Forget about Dubas. We're living in the past, Michael. I appreciate the super chat, but who cares? That's going to do it for tonight's stream, guys. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate everyone coming in here. I appreciate everyone who subscribed, liked the stream. Again, as I said, 50% of the people who watch the channel, 60% of the people who watch the channel, watch these videos, aren't subscribed. There's just no reason for that. We built up a brand new channel in 4 months, got back to almost 1,200 subscribers here. We're still trying to get to 2K. Let's pump those numbers up. Hit that subscribe button. I appreciate all the support. Thanks to everyone who tuned in here tonight. This has been game number 45 recap of the Toronto Maple Leafs season, defeating the Seattle Kraken here tonight, 3-1, moving to 23, 14, and 8 on the season. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you in the future. Keep believing.